In NASCAR, it always feels like we're holding on to something. Last week, it was tires.
Here's a look at it. Roll away out of their pit box.
This week, it's our seats, as the gang gets set for some road racing.
Beautiful 3.4-mile, 20-turn race course.
Tyler Reddick held on for a win at last year's event in Dakota. Now he's holding on to hope he can do it again.
That is a monster win!
So get strapped in.
Big time stack up here, guys.
Another edition of Around the Track starts now.
Ditching the short tracks. We're leaving super speedways in the dust. It is Grand Prix season and we go road course racing for the first time this season. Welcome into Around the Track. I'm Carly Gebhardt. He's Gabe McDonald, and Gabe, week 6, and we still got 5 different winners already.
Yeah, and the question is, will the trend continue? Plenty of Cup guys know how to win when the left and right turns come into play, including 2311's Tyler Reddick, who we have today in Garage Confidential. Not only that, but Andrew Curlin is going to join us right here in studio to break everything down.
Yeah, let's drop the green flag on COTA, aka the Circuit of Americas, and get right to the details of this race. Again, it is the first road test of the season, and it gives anyone a chance to win, but only a handful of these Cup Series drivers have the road skills to either extend a point lead or lock up a playoff spot with a win. They drive anything with a motor here in Austin, but when it comes to NASCAR, they're going to be burning up that clutch, shifting into gear. Brake wear going to be an issue for some teams today. COTA is synonymous with that. There's more challenges that lie ahead as well, but we'll let the drivers tell you that.
Yeah, you know, the thing that makes being a NASCAR driver so difficult is the tracks and the venues change week to week, and what it takes to win on one week is not what it takes the next week. It requires a significant amount of versatility, and I think that's part of what makes success over the course of a season so special.
7 years in Cup now, you got to have it figured out to differentiate the mindset. So here will be a lot of fun. Next week will be a lot of fun too, but it's just different, going right, hitting some curves and, you know, long straightaways.
Definitely feel a little better about getting up to speed before qualifying goes, but yeah, I'll put the same to maybe a little more time on it, simply because I'm not as familiar how to make really good speed on that track quite yet, but I feel confident.
All right, let's go ahead and do COTA by the numbers. We'll go 231 miles over just 68 laps on this 3.4-mile course. 20 turns on this winding challenge throughout Austin, Texas. Now, we've only been racing here since 2021, so we'll only have 3 active drivers with wins: Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, and Ross Chastain. Now, the number 1 is a very important number here because of its world-famous Turn 1. Dubbed Big Red, this challenges drivers to an initial 133-foot climb right out of the gate. And one more number for you. How about this one? $9.7 million. That's how much we're racing for out in Austin.
We got to talk a little bit more about Circuit of the Americas with our reporter that is trackside at COTA right now. We are welcoming Tom Miller into the show right now. How's it going, Tom? And can you tell us a little bit about maybe the track conditions for Sunday, because we know that could certainly come into play for this road course this weekend?
Hello, good to be with you. The track is in great condition. We were out on the track earlier this week and got a chance to do a lap. We saw crews that were out there. They were doing everything they could to get any sort of tiny debris off of the track. We saw crews that were reworking the paint, working to get any scuffs off of the track. The weather has been good. We've had a little bit of rain earlier in the week, but at this point now, conditions are looking dry. One thing that I heard from some of the people with NASCAR is that drivers, because this track is so unique and so different from a lot of the large ovals that they do, is that they've actually been renting private time leading up to this race and in the off season to try to get this dialed in, get their cars dialed in, and know what to expect. So we could certainly see an experience factor there when it comes to which drivers are able to succeed and which are not.
Absolutely. That extra seat time always comes into play when it comes to NASCAR. Tom, we appreciate it.
All right, so what kind of race are we in store for at COTA? Let's go ahead and ask one of the new fresh faces in the sport.
That's right. He's one of my co-hosts on Dale Jr.'s Dirty Mo Media, and now he's around the track. Andrew, welcome. Andrew Curlin is here, and we got to talk about a road course race. Are you excited for these drivers to get on the track on Sunday?
I can't wait. This is going to be an exciting race. I mean, you talked about there's going to be a lot of chaos to start with, but I don't know. I feel like COTA is the first type of wild card race we're going to see this season.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenging track, Circuit of the Americas. You got elevation changes throughout this track. It's really unlike anything that we've seen before in the NASCAR circuit, and that is what makes it so challenging, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you talked about that elevation. I was there the year Ross Chastain won, and walking up that Turn 1 hill, it is a lot bigger than it looks. I mean, elevation changes, it's very technical, it's very fast. You're going to need a whole bunch of skills to get around this place.
We got 20 turns here in Austin, so that means those brakes, they are going to wear down quickly. How do you really see that playing out in a race like this, with this being the first time we're seeing a road course this year?
I mean, we had, 3 overtime restarts for last year? I mean, the aggression, especially towards the end of the race, is going to be through the roof.
Yeah, speaking of the pits, tires not going to be much of an issue as they were last week in Bristol, but this was a big storyline, right? You talk about the tire wear last week. Again, they're going to have a different tire this week. Do you think, though, thinking back to Bristol, that it was really the tire? Was it Goodyear or was it the Bristol track? What have the drivers been saying?
Actually, I think it was a temperature thing. You know, Bristol is a concrete track, which you don't typically see in NASCAR. And when concrete tracks under 65 degrees, they don't really seem to take rubber. I talked to Chris Gabehart, Denny Hamlin's crew chief, after the race. He said they had something similar at Dover during practice last year. It was under 65 degrees. It was a cold day, and the tires seemed to react very similar. So I'm hoping we see it again, because obviously it was super entertaining, but it could have been a temperature thing.
When you look at a race like Bristol, I believe 54 lead changes. I mean, just when you think about all of the races we had so far this season and all the momentum going into COTA, what can that do for the sport with a race like that last week?
Fantastic. I have had I mean, what a great start to the season overall we've had. I've had people who don't watch NASCAR text me like, wow, what a race that was at Bristol, because it truly was entertaining.
And there are some favorites here. Obviously, you know, your typical guys, a Ross Chastain, a Chase Elliott, a Tyler Reddick. So we're not going to get your pick just yet, but why would those guys be among your favorites for this race?
I mean, they're proven winners, right? I think all 3 of them have recorded top 10s in those 3 races. Obviously, Chase Elliott missed last year, but always running up front, it seems like, at COTA.
What's a driver that we might not be paying attention to that we should pay attention to on Sunday?
Hey, he won a road course race last year, and it kind of surprised us. Michael McDowell, I think, is going to be someone we got to keep our eyes on. He's got that, Team Penske, Front Row Motorsports Alliance. I think he's got the speed and the skills.
And Front Row Motorsports as a whole, Todd Gilliland, one of the breakout stars of the year, Michael McDowell, the Fords in general having a good year, but Front Row Motorsports pretty solid to start off. Why do you think that is so far this year?
I think it goes back to that technical alliance, and that team has just slowly been improving year over year. Michael McDowell, I mean, who would have thought he won a race last year, right? But he ended up doing it. And I think they're going to continue to show us what the potential is that they have there at that organization.
Well, I'll tell you what, that team would be super excited to win this race
at
COTA this weekend. Andrew, stick around. We've got more with you here in a little bit. But before we drive to the green flag, we go red with Reddick.
I mean, some people are arguing that you're one of the best road course racers for the Cup Series right now. How do you feel about that title?
So does he agree? Hear from driver of the number 45 for 2311 Racing and the winner of last year's race in COTA, Tyler Reddick. It's just ahead.
And there's a saying here, keep Austin weird. And some of the quirks this track has, they're just that. All the twists, turns, and potential treachery is coming up here on around the track. And guys, Bowman is back, and with all due respect to Alex Bowman, we're not talking about the Hendrick driver in the 48.
That's right, a beloved track is now back in the hands of the sport. We got details on deck when Around the Track continues. NASCAR may be headed to a road course, but how about some short track racing news? NASCAR announcing this week it'll be taking over the historic Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, managing the racing operation, and will assume that lease through December of 2050. If you're wondering if the NASCAR National Series has plans for the track, NASCAR Senior VP Ben Kennedy says, in the grand scheme of things, anything's possible, Gabe.
and every track is known for something. Here in Austin, it's 251 feet tall. The COTA observation deck was built for the Formula One races held here, but has since grown into a Texas landmark that resides on turn 16. 22 stories to the top, and the elevators, you only got 2 buttons, so you only got 2 choices, 22 or 1. If that's not your style, enjoy racing up the 419 double helix stairs to the top, where you can see for miles, including the stadium that sits on the grounds for soccer and rugby. All right, we got Andrew Curlin back joining us. Now, one member of 2311 Racing has an advantage here. It's not Tyler Reddick, who's been in COTA's victory lane. It's his teammate today, not Bubba Wallace. It's the new number 50, Kamui Kobayashi. The driver made his Cup Series debut last season in Indy, finishing 33rd. Now, he's getting another try because of his credentials. A 24-hour of Le Mans winner, a 2-time World Endurance champion, with 75 F1 starts to boot, including here at COTA. Now, we wouldn't say he's out for revenge, but Kamui knows this style of racing is completely different from what he knows, and he's looking to prove to the NASCAR world that he isn't a flash in the oil pan.
I had a second shot this time, and I think we had more good preparation, and obviously I think we have a bit more time to understand what's going on. So for me, I think the second shot will be, much more relaxed myself, and of course I think this COTA race, obviously I have been raced like 5 years already, so I know well the track. It's a bit different line than NASCAR and my racing, but still at least I know the place, I know the tracks.
So Andrew, obviously this is a really cool opportunity for him, but NASCAR has really had a lot of these one-off road races. You think of guys like Shane Van Gisbergen, even AJ Allmendinger. What do you make of these guys getting these opportunities to race in the Cup Series?
I mean, we saw SVG. I mean, he kicked the whole field's butt in Chicago. I feel like the Cup field, they're not going to want that again. Michael McDowell said that was embarrassing for the sport to see SVG come in and win a one-off race. So I think they're going to be aggressive with these guys.
You look at a guy like AJ Allmendinger of Colleague Racing. Why is he so good on these road courses, and what can we expect out of him?
I think that's just his true talent. I mean, AJ Allmendinger, we've known him for years as that road course ringer. Obviously came close to winning that inaugural one in COTA, that exciting last lap finish where Ross Chastain ultimately won. I think he can be a player in this.
And we have another great road course racer joining us on the show. Carla, you have more with him.
I sure do. 2311 Racing is headlining this race in several ways. You got Kobayashi, like you mentioned, guys. Their owner, Denny Hamlin, is the most recent winner coming into the race after Bristol. And their driver of the 45, Tyler Reddick, won COTA just last season, which is why he was the perfect pick to preview the race in this week's Garage Confidential. Here at 2311 Racing, and we are outside right now because the building is not quite done yet for us to be inside and get the tour of this place. But can you at least give us maybe a picture of what's to come inside this building?
This is as close they let you get?
Yeah,
wow.
for right now.
Yeah, they're being real buttoned up, aren't they? I'm glad they let me in on a day-to-day basis, but they're still figuring everything out. So, I mean, they wanted to make sure that everything here at Airspeed was in its place where it needed to be before, they open the doors.
Yeah, they got to get your office ready as well. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and talk about COTA. I mean, some people are arguing that you're one of the best road course racers for the Cup Series right now. How do you feel about that title?
Well, I mean, over the last, 2.5, 3 years, we have certainly, the results have gotten better, the speed's gotten better, but it's a never-ending work in progress. You look at the field and how much preparation and work goes into these events, and it's very, very competitive. So the work never stops. We just keep plugging away at it. Obviously we won this race last year, but it's going to be a little bit different when we come back, and we have a brand new Toyota Camry as well, so we got to figure this car out on a road course as well.
What's going to be different, and you are going to get a little bit of extra practice this weekend? How will that kind of come into play for this race?
Everyone's going to have opportunities, more opportunities than last time, to work on their car, work on themselves, the driver, and close the gap that you will see probably at the beginning of Group A practice. So to a degree, you want to go out there and feel your car out, but you know that everyone's going to be watching one another. If someone has a really good corner, a really good sector, the drivers and teams are smart. They're going to be paying attention to it, making some notes and making adjustments as necessary. So yeah, we'll try to tune all that noise out and just focus on what our race car really needs. But certainly, it's a trend that we saw over the course of last year's event too. We were really, really good in practice. Me and Bubba Wallace were, And we eventually just saw drivers like Byron and Suarez in particular just really close the gap throughout the day, and then close that gap again in qualifying, and then again in the race close that gap.
And this course has a little bit of everything, but how would you describe it? I mean, there's really nothing else to compare it to on the Cup Series circuit.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly one of the tracks, one of the most wide racetracks we have. The racing surface itself is not necessarily wide like, you know, a Talladega or a Daytona, but so much of the runoff is paved, and so that allows the drivers to be really aggressive. But we've really seen them crack down on that over the last couple of years. You know, being certain areas of the track you really can't afford to slip off of. So it's something we're all aware of. But as drivers in a lot of the big braking zones and in other areas of the track, you can get very adventurous and make speed with it.
Toyotas have been strong so far at the last couple of races. Road courses obviously very different, but how confident do you feel going into this race?
Yeah, seeing what the car's done so far at Bristol, at Phoenix, at the test in late December last year, it's definitely very promising. So obviously I do expect the other Toyota competitors, other Toyota teammates of mine to have similar speed. So, but that's honestly a good thing. I feel like us Toyota drivers race each other very fairly. So I'm all good with racing all the other drivers in the family.
Thanks to Reddick for that. Well, from one popular driver to another, Chase Elliott and Dale Jr. teaming up on a project that will have fans daydreaming about 2014. We'll tell you about it next.
And we're going back to Bristol for our wreck of the race, but it's not in the Cup Series. Find out why we got some people trashing up the trucks when Around the Track continues. Back here on Around the Track for this week's wreck of the race, we got to go to the Truck Series. Tom Majeski spun out on lap 144 in Bristol. Not only that, but he takes out his teammate and reigning Truck Series champion, Ben Rhodes. Needless to say, Ty says it was actually the 18 of Tyler Ankrum that pinched him and caused a two-car wreck. At this point, though, doesn't really matter. It's over and done with. Christian Eckes would win and lock himself into the Truck Series playoffs.
Well, Hendrick Motorsports past and present teaming up for a awesome throwback ride. Chase Elliott going to honor Dale Earnhardt Jr. at Darlington with this number 9 paint scheme. This resembles the same car that Dale Jr. drove to victory lane at the 2014 Daytona 500. Chase has never won the Great American Race, but he does have one thing that Jr. doesn't, a Cup Series title. Neither driver, though, has won a Cup race at Darlington, so maybe this is what the code breaker is going to require. And we're bringing Andrew back in to talk about this. You were there when they revealed this.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty special moment for Dale Jr.
It was. He did not know there was going to not be a cover on the car. Wow. So he walked out. He's like, oh, there it is. You know, he kind of caught him by surprise. It was a funny moment. He thought the car looked fantastic, and I had a chance to look back and forth at the original and the one that they ended up making. It looks identical. It really does.
And for you personally, I mean, you were at that Daytona 500 back in the day. Just what was that experience like, seeing that car and now seeing this throwback car come to life?
Yeah, it was super cool. Like, that was what I call the first day on the job. You know, first day I was running around doing interviews. And to see that car again, I never would have thought I would. But that's, I guess, the cool part about Throwback Weekend is it brings these types of nostalgic paint schemes back.
Really quickly, Dale Jr. also announcing that he's going to be back in the Xfinity Series this fall. Excuse me. That's going to be a big race for him. Is he excited to get back in the car?
He's pumped. I mean, this was the race he wanted, right? And he kind of teased it on some of our podcasts earlier this year on Dale Jr. Download. But Bristol, I mean, he led laps. He led laps last time we were there. I know him and the fans are going to be excited to see this one.
Back to Bristol for Dale Earnhardt Jr. We got to talk about Denny Hamlin, though, who proved yet again that the last great Coliseum is his house. But when it comes to the road course, who's going to be in the winner's circle? The sports books odds and our victory lane locks. Those are next.
Back from our final pit stop for the first time this season, NASCAR gets ready to go road course racing with the Circuit of Americas on the docket. Here's the odds to take the checkered flag in Austin from the start of the week, courtesy of DraftKings. Tyler Reddick is the top guy at plus 450, a past winner, followed by Chase Elliott at plus 750, another past winner who's gotten into victory lane. Trackhouse's Shane Van Gisbergen is plus 900. Remember, he won Chicago's street race in his first attempt last summer. William Byron is plus 1,000, along with another Toyota and Christopher Bell.
All right, not to brag, boys, but someone called Denny taking the checkered flag in last week's Victory Lane locks. It's really the only time that I've ever gotten it right, so I am definitely going to take the time to brag. But that leads us into what our picks are going to be this week for COTA. Andrew, who do you have?
I think It's simple as this. Tyler Reddick, I think he goes back to
Back
back.
to back.
Yeah, he's got an average finish, get this, of 5th. Right? Single number 5. Average running position of 7.5. I think that's the second most in the series. And he said on one of our podcasts this week, Door Bumper Clear, if I don't have a half-second lead on the field, I'm going to be upset. So he's got high expectations for him this weekend. So give me Tyler Reddick. And also, I've been told we look alike. I don't necessarily see it, but of course I got to go for, I guess, my doppelganger.
Yeah, you got to get back in victory lane this weekend.
Yeah.
You're going with the past winner. I am as well. Give me Chase Elliott. We talked a lot before the season about him being able to bounce back after a rough season last year. He's a guy, 7 road course wins. I think he gets back into victory lane. He just gets the monkey off his back. Hasn't had a win since October of 2022. I think Chase Elliott gets his first checkered flag in 16 months.
We've all picked past winners at COTA, and guess what I'm about to do? I'm about to do the same thing. Feeling good about Trackhouse Racing. Have a couple of road course wins under their belt. Ross Chastain not only won here in 2022, but in the 2 other races that they've had here, yeah, he's finished very well in them as well. So I think they're going to get back to victory lane. Andrew, we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's going to do it for us around the track. We'll see you next week at Richmond.